those are the main beats.
Eddie, you want to take it from there real quick?
Well, no, we'll go.
Dorkman?
Yeah, we'll go in order.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we keep saying, for a first effort, it's quite phenomenal, really. I mean, there's things shooting-wise that you want to work on, like the 180-degree rule, which we should really talk about because a number of
at some point, please.
A number of entries have an issue with that. And like headroom, you don't need that much space above your actors a lot of times and stuff like that. But in terms of purely choreography, like you say, there are no stances to speak of, which again I think goes back to people don't think about the lower half of their body when they're choreographing stuff, and that's something, again, as a general note, that you really want to do. And then in terms of what they were doing with the lightsabers, aside from using the double-handed sabers, rather better than I've seen a lot of people use them. For the most part, it was again very rudimentary kind of saber work.
That's true. That was the other thing I forgot. Is like I kind of look at it like a lot of this worked. I wasn't like bothered by like, oh, these are the same 4 moves over and over. They're one level better than that, but at the same time, there weren't any particular moments in here where I was like, oh, that was cool, or oh, that was kind of tricky. You know, there weren't a lot of like little clever things that jumped out at me.
Going on, first, I agree with everything everybody said. Going off kind of what Ryan proposed, if you walk into any boxing, kickboxing, MMA gym, the very first thing they're going to tell you is the last thing you want to attack with is what's called arm punching or leg kicking, meaning that you don't just punch with the arm, you punch with the body. You deepen into your stance, you get the right posture from the feet up all the way up, and when you punch, every part of your body goes into that attack, whether it's a punch, kick, whatever. The same holds true for sabers, and especially holds true in choreography. Because you're not actually going to see direct impact on anything, we need to see those body mechanics all the way through. We need to see follow-through. We need to see, with this particular entry, they were very high in their stance. Their center of gravity was oftentimes off balance as they just simply moved their arm. So I would say, and I know a lot of people approach this from a filmmaking perspective first and a choreography perspective second, and that's fine, but this is a lightsaber choreography contest, and therefore that's what I'm going to be looking at. With these guys, I absolutely applaud that it's their first film, but if you're going to do a fight scene, you have to understand basic body mechanics and how to really follow through and things like that. And a little bit of research in that area for your next entry would be great, because I would like to see something more from these guys.
Cool. Everyone go ahead and make sure you're queued up to entry number 3, Jeff Hibbert. And while you're doing that, Dorkman, real quick, explain the 180 rule and what that means and how you can misuse it.
Well, the 180, it's hard to do. Like I'd really.
It's very hard to do.
I really want to do like a graphic or something to really get this clear.
Wait,
but
here's the way because it is very confusing, and I remember when they taught us it in film school, it was very confusing. The way I like to think of it is, imagine if whatever you're watching on screen, imagine you were watching it in a theater, and like you can be in the right bleachers, or you can be in the left bleachers, or you can be in the front bleachers, and it'd be pretty much the same. But if you were to suddenly jump backstage and be watching from the other side, then it becomes weird.
And the point of the name is that there's basically, you only have 180 degrees to move the camera around. Just stay on the same side of them. But once you go past 180 degrees, you're looking back from the other side, and it's complicated.
Okay, yes. The thing is, it's like if you have someone who's looking off to the right side of screen, and then you cut, and then he's looking off to the left, suddenly you don't know where you are. You're
Right.
disoriented.
Because in your mind's eye, if you're the camera, you have physically jumped from one side of the action to the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So but the exception to the rule is that you don't want to cut over the 180-degree line, but you can move the camera over the line
If you
during
change the
a
blocking,
shot.
it works.
If you change the line during the shot, then you can start cutting from over there, but you don't want to jump back across again over the next line. It's
yeah,
like
you can justify it in a number of ways. The people can physically change direction, and they can change sides, and if you see them do it, then you understand why it happened. Or you can go to just a neutral camera angle that allows you to sort of set up a new setup for your next series of shots. And there's lots of ways to get around it.
And the other thing too, it almost seems like cheating, but it works, is that you can also gradually get your way around the 180-degree line with editing. You can use a shot as a hinge to get there, and
you can pivot,
get your way there. As long as you
called
don't
the clock on the wall shot. If you go to the clock, and then you can come back to whatever you
if you cut away to something outside of that particular setup, and you go to a different setup, you can come back to whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, there's
cool.
Firefly fans, Josh Whedon actually goes into it in the pilot. He actually describes a scene in which he crosses the 180 line in the famous shot where they sweep under as Zoe and Mal are firing their guns, is deliberately to change the rest of the fight to be the other side of the 180 line. Because they were losing the sun. And they did that so that the sun would be on the on-camera side. They did it on the fly while they were shooting the scene. Anyway, moving on.